Hear the following explanation about fear by a psychologist. He says fear is part instinct, part learned, and part taught. An example of instinctive fear is pain. It just causes this emotional state of fear because you want to survive. So you're afraid of dying or that's the end. A fear that is learned has to do with, for example, people, places, or some experiences that you've had, and that previous bad experience makes you afraid not to experience it again. Other fears are simply taught, that we tell the next generation or to each other to be afraid of going that way or meeting with that person. Fears that are taught to us. Fear is a very known subject throughout the entire scriptures. There's plenty about it. Now, let me give you an example. Proverbs chapter 9, verse 10, the first part reads, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." You have seen this probably everywhere. It's an overly, I don't want to say used because it's a good verse, but used in the sense of not explained, just thrown out there. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of all answer. So I have a question for this answer. How can we use fear that has become such a negative feeling or conversation and bring that into a relationship with God? We teach children not to be afraid in taking those first steps. Do you remember that? So cute, right? And then as soon as they start walking, we tell them to be careful and to be afraid of taking the wrong steps in life. Whoa, I thought it was don't be afraid. Now you're saying be careful, be afraid. See, here's what I'm trying to tell you. Fear is not the problem. Okay, I think fear is a God-given gift, like an alert system used for prevention and guidance. But here's the thing, what influences fear can become the problem. Because if you leave it unattended, then what influences fear can keep you under control. Let me take you back to God. God does not use fear to control you. Otherwise, he'll be constantly talking about judgment, hell. God says the fear is to be away from God. There is no fear in God because he speaks about salvation, forgiveness, and heaven. So anyone who tells you God uses fear to control you, well, that's not the God that I know from the scriptures, whom I worship. My God is the God of freedom. The fear of the Lord is to understand that away from God, that is terrifying, that is fearful. But when in God, there is joy, there is freedom. Let me tell you a quick story from my life. Where I grew up, we lived in a 9-story building. We're on the 7th floor. Back then, much of the elevators wouldn't work, so we had to take the stairs up and down. That was pretty healthy, actually. And so someone had taught me when I was very young that on the 6th floor, there's this lady, I guess, who was extremely mean. So it was kind of a terrifying figure that I had imagined in my mind because what I was taught by the other kids. So whenever I had to go down and up, I would rush through the 6th floor stairs. Rush meaning I would just jump. Or coming up, it was not look to my left where the entrance was, just up the stairs. God forbid if I ever came across with this terrifying figure of that older lady. I was told that way, okay? So here's the thing. To this day, I don't know who that lady was. I never met her. I don't even know if she existed or it was a story. I'm not kidding. But I heard, I believed, I accepted as reality. I allowed that feeling of fear to control me. Now, what if that lady really existed? And what if there is a danger? So the problem was not the fear. The problem is that I allowed something that was not true to control me. Because fear just helped me to be careful. I hope you're understanding that fear is not the problem. Let me take you to a young prophet. His name is Jeremiah in the Bible. And God has called Jeremiah, given him the gift of prophecy. Says, Jeremiah, you're going to go to the king. You're going to tell him what is about to come on his kingdom. Captivity, sorrow, like very bad things is coming their way. He's living in the southern kingdom of Judea. And much of his prophecies were not, God is going to bless you and prosper. No, it was, be careful. Okay? And Jeremiah has this conversation with the Lord. Here, Jeremiah chapter 1, verses 4 through 8. Then the word of the Lord came to me, saying the following. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you. I ordained you a prophet to the nations. Then Jeremiah says, Oh Lord, but behold, I cannot speak, for I am a youth. But the Lord said to me, Do not say, I am youth, for you shall go to all to whom I send you, and whatever I command you, you shall speak. And here comes an amazing verse. Do not be afraid of their faces. Why? For I am with you to deliver you, says the Lord. I love this. Do not be afraid of their faces. Have you ever heard the expression facing your fears? I believe this is where it comes from. Have you been in the presence of someone who you just look at their face, you're saying, oh my God, this is terrifying. Something is wrong. That looks aggressive. That looks mean. And says when you go and face these faces that inspire fear, do not allow them to control you, because I am with you. You have a bigger and a greater purpose. You, Jeremiah, fear me. Be afraid of my presence, of losing my friendship. Don't be afraid of their faces. It is I who's sending you. You have a greater purpose. So I want to take today, this time, and ask you, whatever you're afraid of, or whoever inspires you to be afraid, I don't know who that is, what that is in your life. Let me tell you, fear is not the problem. The problem is that you have allowed, given permission to that, whoever that is, to control your life through a natural feeling of fear. Reverse that. Say, Lord, the only thing that I'm afraid of is losing the sense that you are with me. Yet God has given the promise that no matter what you're facing terrifies you, remember, God is with you. He has sent you. So when Jeremiah says, I am youth, he's not talking only about age. He's talking about, I don't trust myself. I'm not capable. I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I have the courage. God says, listen, I get it. You don't have it, but I have it. I inspire you all the things that you need, not to be afraid. So fear is not the problem. Let's think about what and whom we've allowed to use fear to control us, and say no more. With God, I can do all things. God bless you.